Seeing your granddaughter ripped to pieces by zombies, a covered up genocide, and hoarding an entire buffet that could easily feed other starving survivors. Welcome to Dead Rising's effed up history. What's up guys, Single Player Nacho here with another edition of effed up history. The Dead Rising games all have storylines that open up avenues of perverted, violent, and downright disturbing history. You see, when a zombie outbreak happens, all of our inner psychos get exposed. Interestingly enough, some psychos aren't always outright crazy, which brings us to our first effed up realization of the most outward psycho of them all, Adam the Clown. Juggling 2 chainsaws, check, and full clown attire, check. Yeah, seems pretty psycho, alright. But Adam actually figured out that the noise generating from the roller coaster was keeping the zombies away. Let me repeat that. Of all the functioning people in the mall, a fucking clown found the zombies' weakness.
If the ride stops, then the zombies come back, and that won't be any fun at all!
Of course, our protagonist needed that roller coaster shut down in order to complete a mission, which made Adam very angry, but was his anger justified? After all, he simply just wanted to keep the zombies away. Fuck it, here's a clip of Adam falling on 2 chainsaws. You see, psychos are actually more than meets the eye. War veteran Cliff Hudson completely loses it, stakes out an entire hardware store and hangs decapitated zombies upside down, thanks to a PTSD rage. Wandering survivors that went inside the hardware store were thought to be Viet Congs, so Cliff would imprison them in the abandoned room next door. But what triggered that PTSD? After defeating Cliff, the truth spills. Turns out, Cliff and his family were simply enjoying their day out in the mall, and then the zombies came. Cliff saw his granddaughter get ripped to pieces, giving him Vietnam flashbacks and ultimately caused insanity. Cliff's last dying words are, "My granddaughter. She was done in by those damn zombies. When I heard her scream, I just lost it. Everything went white suddenly. The war, it wasn't over. Not for me. It never ended." Frank shows Cliff some sympathy by shutting his eyes. Turns out Cliff was the only psychopath in the game that Frank showed some sort of emotion towards. Now on the opposite side of the psycho spectrum is Joe Slade, a heavy police officer. Joe would arrest innocent survivors and fondle them. It is heavily, and I mean heavily implied that Heavy Joe almost certainly sexually abused a few survivors, specifically women survivors. Now going from the fucked up to the absolutely insane is Larry Chang. Chiang, am I saying that right? Larry is a butcher, which almost goes hand in hand with being a psychopath. At some point during the outbreak, Larry completely lost his sanity and through his meat expertise, saw zombies as spoiled meat and was on the lookout for fresh meat. The fresh meat being alive human meat. During the boss fight, you'll see Larry chugging some of his own meat, which pretty much confirms cannibalism. He also has a tattoo on the back of his neck that says meat. This guy really loves meat. It's fair to say that a disastrous event like a zombie apocalypse is completely at fault for making these regular psychos into award-winning psychos. Let's go back in time before any of them started abusing, kidnapping, and eating people. How did the zombie outbreak even happen? It all started when a research group funded by the US government unwelcomely placed their research complex on a peaceful Central American town known as Santa Cabeza. Led by Dr. Barnaby, the mysterious old man from the beginning of the game, the research group were trying to find a way to double meat production due to the inexplicably large demand for it back in the States. People like Joe Slade are partially to blame. The research group found a previously undiscovered breed of insects in the forests of Santa Cabeza. These insects contain toxins thought to be able to produce meat in rapid succession, but instead inadvertently created a zombie virus, which would then spread to the villagers of Santa Cabeza, turning them into zombies. Whoops. How did the US government deal with their mistake? By completely killing all of the locals, zombie or not. Santa Cabeza was completely destroyed, covered up, and never to be brought up again. Pretty effed up, right? In an act of vengeance, Carlito and Isabella Keys, whose hometown just so happened to be the now destroyed Santa Cabeza, who also lost their loved ones in Santa Cabeza, unleashed the virus in the States, causing the zombie outbreak in the Willamette Mall. Now thankfully a cure is made during the final moments of the first Dead Rising. The cure is named Zombrex, and although it's not an outright cure, it slows the zombification process. It's also not a perfect drug either. Check out some of these symptoms. Random limb loss, herd mentality, and some light rotting. Nice. Zombrex is sold to the masses by a pharmaceutical company named Phenotrans, and like many pharma companies in other game series, they do some pretty fucked up shit like, I don't know, purposefully infecting a town in order to create a demand for their drug, which boosts sales figures. What makes the company Phenotrans even more douchier than it already is? They sponsor a hit TV show known as Terror is Reality, a game show about, well, killing zombies for ratings.
Tonight, we are gonna witness true American warriors kicking zombie ass!
It's easy, whichever contestant kills the most zombies wins the prize money. The same money that would probably be used to buy Phenotrans' own Zombrex drug, since they also made it immensely expensive. Now, when a company as fucked up as Phenotrans starts making controversial decisions, a group of hippies need to come out of the woodworks to save the day. CURE, which stands for Citizens of Undead Rights and Equality, are people that believe that zombies should have rights just as humans do. Yeah. CURE believes that zombies shouldn't be killed for entertainment purposes like in the game show Terror is Reality, which is fair enough. Now, Dead Rising 3 may not have been as revered as the first two games, but it does pull off something interesting and effed up with the way it chose to display its psychopaths, by making each of them represent one of the 7 deadly sins. Albert Conteo represents greed and keeps souvenirs made from his victims' body parts. He's also bathed in jewelry and gold. Darlene Fleischer-Marcher represents gluttony and is a fat sack of pancake titties. She holds down an entire buffet, and any starving survivor who dares take even a small piece of it will lead Darlene to, well, check this out.
Hey, stop it! I'm starving!
Get away from my food!
Pretty effed up. Dylan Fuentes represents lust and has a flamethrower snowball dick cannon. Harry Wong represents wrath. You see, Harry was generally unloved by his family, his wife left him, and his kids call him a bunch of nicknames. He also got fired from his job, but instead of dealing with his anger up front, Harry battled it all and is full of rage. Jerry Gallo represents pride and is simply a narcissistic woman? Kenny Dermott represents envy and acts as the protagonist's fanboy who literally dresses up like him. And finally, Theodore Ladgerfield Jr. represents sloth. Theodore is basically a lazy gamer who probably mirrors most of us. I know he does mirror me to a certain degree. Which effed up part of Dead Rising's history stood out to you? Comment below, and if you have a suggestion for another video game series you'd like to see on effed up history, feel free to let me know. I've already done Resident Evil, so check that video out. It's actually much more tragic than you'd expect. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and as always, stay single.